yeah. This is for the one who ain't never had a love, yeah. This one's for the girl who don't feel like she's enough, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This one's for the cool kid playing on the school team, crying to himself cause he never had the prom queen. Head full of wants, but they said it's just a pipe dream, yeah. This one's for the kids like me, they ain't never had one day. The ladies always turn their cheek, but they ain't let the fat ones sing. This one's for the kids like me, kept working when they had nothing. When people try to take their dreams, they stuck it to them, please don't change.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Alex Cuesta Show. How is everybody doing out there on this Wednesday, November 12th, 2025? I feel like, anyone let me know. I feel like do I sound this clear? I don't know. I feel like I don't sound that great. Let me know if I sound okay tonight. But it is November 11th, November 12th. Jesus, Wednesday. What am I doing here? We are back. Another David Torturing Me series. This is number 4 of that. And tonight, we are going to start and embark on a journey together, everyone. Tonight, we are going to learn about the man that is Nick Fuentes. David has set me up with a 3-hour documentary that I have never seen before. And I do not feel like sitting here for like 6 hours dissecting this. So we are going to take this probably a piece at a time. We'll see how far we get in probably about like 2 hours and where I'm at. And then we might do this in 3 or 4 parts. We're going to see how we are going to do with that. But before we get into all the fun stuff, wherever you are watching from, I absolutely appreciate it. Please make sure you give us a like, share, follow, subscribe wherever you are, whether it is Rumble, YouTube, X, Kick, Facebook. Thank you for wherever you're at, wherever you're listening from. And if you're listening to this later via podcast form, I apologize. You're going to be hearing a lot of documentary stuff and me stopping and going. And I've actually been really terrible about getting things on the podcast end. So I got to get better at that. But one thing that we are doing more on the show here is, if you hadn't noticed, if you go check out the YouTube, if you go check out the Rumble, there are more videos popping up. There are more shorts and clips popping up. Make sure you jump on there if you want to go see some different videos. I've done so far a few of them on how we should handle, SNAP benefits now that the shutdown has come to a close, what we should do about the quarterback slide. And my most recent one, released yesterday, was about the K-pop Demon Hunter toys, them being freaking ridiculously expensive and all that good stuff. So look forward to me trying to release videos at least one a day. And trying to just keep content coming out there, just expressing my opinions. I'm trying to force David to start making videos. Let's see if we can get him to do that. And that's going to be the goal. So if you want to support us more, please make sure you go watch the YouTube videos as well as the live stream we have going on here. And if you like what you see, make sure you share it. Throw it all over your social media. Repost it if you're on Rumble. Share it out if you're on YouTube and stuff like that. That'll only help us grow, and absolutely like those, comment on those, because all those things are incredibly helpful. So let's dive right into it. See how much David hates me. Now, again, I have never watched this video before in my life. This is going to be me live reacting to the things going on in this video and seeing. I didn't link it because I suck at this game, but I will link it in the bottom of the post. Let me see. I don't even know who this is by, who does this video, because again, I'm terrible at this, y'all. It's Mikey No More who does it. So Mikey No More, we will be linking this video underneath. It is a documentary. David told me a little, said that this individual does a lot of good documentaries. So David set me up with this. So let's go right in. Boom. Hi, technology. Here we are. Let's get started and come on this adventure with me, y'all. Let's go.
One of the quickest ways for me to think somebody got that Cody Rhodes elimination chamber experience as a kid and is suffering from crippling amounts of childhood CTE is for them to say to me, "We live in a simulation. This reality ain't real, bro. You're trapped in the Matrix and you don't even realize." Automatically.
What's funny about that is a pretty prominent stance by a lot of people right now, is that we are in the Matrix and stuff like that. So pretty wild, pretty wild. Let's keep it going.
Chop that up to mental illness. At least I used to. Over time, I started understanding where the simulation sexuals are coming from, because our reality has gotten more clown-coded year by year. Like every year for the past decade feels like we've sunk deeper and deeper into a circus matrix, where everything is just a little bit dumber and unserious than it was before. And few people demonstrate clown world theory better than Nicholas J. Fuentes.
Now, that right there is, something that I agree with, that Nick Fuentes is a damn clown. Let's find out why. Deep diving.
Now, Nick's far from the biggest clown on the internet. Just look at his movement. And I'm putting the word movement in fat-ass Dave Blunt-sized quotes. It's full of way bigger clowns and lolcows than Nick himself. But while Nick ain't the biggest lolcow in the world, he serves as a valuable barometer of sorts. Cause this is a guy, about a decade ago, who was seen by his peers in high school as the most likely to become president. He was mature, well-spoken, charismatic, and had an in-depth knowledge about politics that betrayed his youth. For a moment, he was getting some shine from influential conservative voices, and right-wing news outlets were scouting him out as fresh talent.
And if you look at that, now let's go back real quick. Where are we at right now? We're at 145. Let's go back to that quick mark right here. Like, look at the difference between the way Nick Fuentes looked there. Like this individual was saying, like, Nick Fuentes looked buttoned up. He had a jacket and blazer on. He had a nice haircut and everything. I can't talk with all my hair, but he looked presentable there. And like you said, he was kind of being looked at as one of the next presenters on the conservative side. Let's keep going.
Well-spoken, charismatic, and had an in-depth knowledge about politics that betrayed his youth. For a moment, he was getting some shine from influential conservative voices, and right-wing news outlets were scouting him out as fresh talent. Nick Fuentes was at one point...
And now look at that. Now he's unkempt. Yeah, he still has the jacket on, but look at him. He looks fucking crazy.
One of the golden boys among young conservatives in America, with a lot of people thinking he was going to be one of the party's future stars. But some...
I do have to say this. I never thought that Nick Fuentes was someone that was going to be a star on the right. I never took Nick Fuentes seriously. There were some things that I saw that he said that kind of aligned with conservative thought, right? That kind of, he started off very much talking about very straight line conservative things. And, as the America First movement continued to go, he kind of agreed with a lot of that stuff, yada, yada. So he was no one super important to me in the kind of conservative movement. He was just another guy. Let's keep going.
Somehow, between then and 2025, his reputation ended up like this.
Is it worse than being a Nazi? Is being a cuck worse than being a Nazi on the internet? Yeah, it is. I see more negative comments about Nick Fuentes being gay than him being a Nazi. And I think it's like a 10x. Like, I've seen more people talking about him being a cat boy than him, like talking about like Holocaust denial or anything like that. He's gay.
Now, mind you, Asmongold is one of the biggest streamers on the planet. And so he's obviously plugged into seeing what a lot of people think. So, I mean, when he's sitting there and he's looking at it, and I think they're both, I think being a Nazi is pretty bad. But, I mean, being gay isn't as bad. Being a fucking catboy is absolutely weird. What's going on, side effect? Saying sometimes? Yes, I agree with you. And it depends on what chair you sit in. It's true. Let's keep rocking here.
Gay? I don't know. I don't care. Like, I'm just saying, like, in general, that's what it is.
How did we get here? How did Nick Fuentes get here?
Oh, by the way, real quick, I just want to jump back here. I just want everyone to notice. Look at my awesome shirt I got for my birthday. My Guts of Doom shirt. I got a few really cool shirts on my birthday, but I love this Guts of Doom one. This is one I personally requested from my mother-in-law, and I just think it's so sick. It has like the Doom style thing there, and then it has Guts just on top of like a bunch of demons with the sword. So, I just want to point that out. Okay, back to the video. Sorry about that.
Very long and surprisingly gay story. And I mean shockingly gay. It involves internet catboys, major politicians, popular e-celebs, the biggest federal investigation in American history, and somehow Kanye West.
I mean, I saw this part of Nick Fuentes' life where for a little while, Kanye West was hanging out with Nick Fuentes, with Milo Yiannopoulos. Like that was all kind of a crew. So side effect saying that shirt hard. Thank you. I appreciate that side effect. But so it was a very weird crew, a bunch of strange bedfellows that they had over there.
This is the story of Nicholas J. Fuentes and how he failed to become the savior of the West.
Let's see what we got here. Chapter 1, College Dropout.
Donald Trump
I do have to say, I love the jazzy music. The jazzy music here is fantastic.
has done irreparable damage to the United States in the past decade. And not even through his own actions, really. Just by existing, this dude has warped and reshaped the minds of people all across the country.
And it's funny because if someone were to read that, listen to that out of context, they would think that like Trump has been like bad as a president. But like he says, they're warping minds. TDS is real, man. People have absolutely, generally normal people have lost their damn minds over a guy that was pretty benign to them before ever running for president. He was someone who just kind of existed and did his thing, was a celebrity on TV, was a mogul. Everyone knew who he was. And now all of a sudden, once he wants to run for president, there's an R next to his name because 100% guarantee if he ran for president as a Democrat and kept the same exact policies, which were similar to Hillary's policies when she was, a senator, secretary of state, things like that, the left would love him, but also the right would hate him. So there's 100% both of those dichotomies.
Now, this malady is popularly known as Trump derangement syndrome, and it affects people both super anti-Trump and super pro-Trump.
Yeah.
Somebody tag in Donald Trump. Donald Trump, if you can hear us, please, Donald Trump, please save me. Please save me, Donald Trump, please.
Like this shit right here, the MAGA zealots, which is crazy because I get accused of being like a MAGA zealot, right? And anyone that's watched our lives and anything like that, I will criticize Trump, no problem. Like he just let out that 50-year mortgage fucking crazy plan. That is Looney Tunes. The 50-year mortgage is one of the worst plans I've ever heard uttered by anyone anywhere. And, and the thing is, these MAGA zealots are gonna find a way to be like, well, you don't understand. The 50-year mortgage is actually good because blah, blah, blah. No, there is nowhere possible that the 50-year mortgage is a good plan. But like was said over here, the TDS rolls multiple ways here. Let's keep on rocking.
In dear God's name, please stop these truth.
Everyone's familiar with the more bombastic versions that turn people into hysterical doomsayers or dick riders of the most outrageous degree. But TDS comes in a more subtle variety too, where the afflicted party in question deteriorates gradually rather than all at once. Nick being a perfect example. See, Nick wasn't even a Trump supporter when he first started talking politics on the internet. In the first episode of the Nicholas J. Fuentes show, the precursor to America First, Nick would admonish Trump for being a joke candidate while praising Ted Cruz of all people.
So here's the thing too. This was a real serious position because I have to say, when Trump first started to run, number one, I've said this before, David can attest to this, my father, my mother can attest to this. Once I started seeing Trump making regular Fox News appearances, when he started off with the birther stuff, talking about, Obama's birth certificate, how he's not even a real American, all that type of stuff, but then also talking economics, also talking about the war, I flat out said that I'm like, hey, if he runs for president in 2016, he's going to win. And that was not even me being facetious at all. I said it, and my dad and mom were like, no, he's flirted with this before. Basically, every decade he flirts with this. It's not going to happen. But lo and behold, there he goes. And I have to say, in 2015, when he came out and all the candidates were there, I was a Ben Carson guy. Initially, I really enjoyed Ben Carson. So that's who I was there first, Once Trump became the nominee, I jumped on, right? Because obviously I wanted him over Hillary. But initially, I was a Ben Carson guy. I wasn't disparaging Trump. I'm not one of these individuals that when the candidates are there, I mean, a few of them, I'm like, they suck. They can leave, right? But for the most part, the candidates, I'll look at them and be like, okay, this one's not terrible. I kind of like rank them in how I would like them. Ben Carson was my guy going in. And then again, as it whittled away, I was like, okay, once Trump started to gain momentum, I jumped on Trump, and he's been the guy since. But it's not, this isn't a surprising thing that, he's talking about Ted Cruz favorably. Ted Cruz was a darling back in 2015, 2014. He was an absolute rising star, and someone that I think a lot of people thought it was him, it was Jeb, it was a few of the names that were running that year in 2015 that they thought were absolutely going to grab it. Matt Santos coming in saying 50-year mortgage equals banks own all houses. Yeah, we're going either between BlackRock and State Street owning everything to banks owning everything. And we're already in a shitty situation with the 30-year mortgages, right? Unless you get settled and you can refi and get a better rate, pay a little more. But 30-year mortgages are bad enough. Santos also saying 6-3 Rangers. I mean, that first period, Santos, was ridiculous. 4-3 right away. Good to see the Rangers buttoning up on defense, but also screw the Rangers. All right, let's keep on rolling.
Now, everyone's been talking about the Trump phenomenon, and it is important and historic. What you have to consider about Donald Trump is that he's not an ideologue. He is an opportunist. He's not a conservative, and it doesn't matter what he is because all he wants is power.
So here's the thing, too. He's right about that, right? Not about the power part. I don't think it's all he wants is power. That was the thing. He's really not a conservative. Still to this day, Donald Trump is not a true conservative. He has a lot more right leanings than he probably did back in like the 90s and stuff like that, and even the 80s. But at the same time, what is considered right leaning has certainly shifted now. So he would be considered right wing now, but it's 100% different. Matt Santos saying, where's Joe? I invited Hack No Cap onto the show. He didn't respond to me. I assume that he just wasn't around his phone. He's a notoriously terrible texter, but I would love to have him come on so we can watch this with me. We can react together. Matt Santos coming saying, typical Fuentes supporter, our all bark, no bite, doesn't show up. I'm not going to blame him. Listen, this is going to be a series. We're going to do this more than once. He might be able to jump in at some point, but let's keep rocking. Otherwise we'll never get through it.
Donald Trump has served his function. His time is over. It's time for serious candidates. Let the adults talk, Donald. We don't need the exclamatory phrases, the borderline racist remarks. Now we need real candidates.
Holy shit. Him talking about the borderline racist remarks. To see Nick Fuentes getting there and then to where we have him now, that's actually hilarious. Matt Santos saying he's always on his phone. He might be, but he doesn't always answer back. So there's some people that are just notoriously bad texters. Hack happens to be one of them.
Yeah, Nick was really put together back in 2015 and 16. The lauded vice president of Lyons Township High School had already developed a reputation for being a gifted public speaker and politically adroit in a way most teenagers in America just weren't.
It's just curious, right? Because you see how buttoned up and how nice looking he looks there and things like that. But then you also see the difference between the way Charlie Kirk rose and also Charlie Kirk having that buttoned up look and everything and being a, kid that's just out of high school and things like that. And it seems like they were on a kind of similar path. And I wonder if Nick just saw that Charlie was winning. So he needed to go in a different route because Charlie, obviously TP USA before Charlie was assassinated, was gigantic and is still gigantic. And it dwarfs whatever Nick is doing right now. Let's keep going.
After graduating, Nick would leave his hometown of Chicago to start attending Boston University, where he would study politics, unsurprisingly. This is also around a time where Nick would finally change his opinion about Trump, claiming in Boston University's Who I'm Voting For video that he would be voting for Trump for a list of reasons that include stopping the demographic shakeup in the country due to unchecked immigration.
So here we go. This is Nick Fuentes' switch up. Now, again, I'm not annoyed that Nick Fuentes jumped on voting for Trump, right? Because at that point, what were the options? As Trump started to expose these candidates having flaws, they were all sweating as he was talking to them. And when candidates sweat, that's weakness. But on top of that, it then became Trump versus Hillary. So this isn't an illogical thing that if Nick was leaning Republican and that's who he was supporting, he would eventually support the Republican candidate.
This video apparently didn't go over too well with people because Nick started receiving hate mail and even threats over what he said.
No, the left doesn't do that. We've heard this. The left is peaceful. There is no such thing as left-wing violence. I even got a TikTok comment not too long ago when I talked about left-wing violence from a person who blocked me on all social media, asking me, can you say what this left-wing violence is? And like I normally do, I ignore the comments because if you felt the need to block me on social media over my support of Trump, then the hell am I going to comment back to you for on a TikTok video?
I can't find this video, by the way. It's gone. I can find this video of Nick in high school telling people about how to get to the school prom, but that one Boston University video, nah, that shit's lost media. Nick stayed the course through 2016. He was gonna stand on 10 toes and confront the critiques of his ideas head on, entering a now infamous college debate shortly before the 2016 election with a fellow student. And I can't lie, Nick cooked this nigga. Came to the debate basically as an underdog, everyone thinking he was just some weirdo.
But also look at the difference here. Like, just look at the dichotomy where even in the blurry side, Nick is in a nice suit and everything, and this other guy looking like, you know, a more hipster version of Tim Pool with the beanie. And then also, I guess that's in a blazer, an attempt at it, like trying to look as hipster and nonchalant as possible when you know that they're fucking losers underneath there.
Conservative kid with fringe conservative ideas, which he kinda was, but that made the rhetorical ass clapping all the more impressive. Now there was this one girl in particular who thought especially highly of Nick's performance, a fellow Boston University student named Cassie Dillon. Cassie recorded the debate and sent it to Ben Shapiro, urging Shapiro to take Nick under his wing cause this kid was something special.
Wild. Honestly, seeing the turn of events now, that telling Ben Shapiro, who again was another, like he was a child prodigy, Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is ridiculously intelligent. He's, you know, there's no doubt he's one of the conservative leaders coming over from the Daily Wire. Still very smart. Don't always agree with him, but still really smart on a lot of geopolitical topics. But to see where Nick Fuentes is now, saying to take him under the wing is hilarious.
Oh, she was right. Not in the way she was expected, but she was definitely right.
Unbeknownst to me, I was doing this debate, and I was unaffiliated, unaligned. I was just some student doing this debate, arguing.
I'm really happy he got rid of that mustache. I'm really happy he got rid of the molestache. That's what that is. That is the molestache.
For Trump. And Cassie Dillon, who was a fellow at Daily Wire, was periscoping the debate on her Twitter. After the debate.
So funny, Periscope on Twitter. Holy shit. Bringing back some memories there. Periscope on Twitter. Wow. Wow, I didn't think I'd hear that today.
She comes up to me and she says, oh my gosh, that was the best thing I've ever seen. My name's Cassie Dillon. I'm with the Daily Wire. She goes, I texted Ben Shapiro about you. They wrote an article about me. One of their writers, who's Jewish, Elliot Hamilton, who was a Jewish writer at the Daily Wire, wrote a big spread about me. I got on a phone call with Elliot Hamilton, and he said that they were considering offering me a job at the Daily Wire as a writer. And I said, wow, I'd love to do it. Just one problem. I started to become aware of some of the stuff that Candace did, and some of the stuff that Kanye did, and some of the stuff that other people did. So I started to talk about it. So I would talk to Cassie Dillon and Elliot Hamilton and these other Daily Wire writers and say, hey, why do we give $3.8 billion per year to Israel?
So this was, you can already see like the way he mentioned like that the writer was Jewish and he talked about that and all of a sudden this and that. You could see right here is when he started to go into the Israel's wrong about everything tribe, right? Like this was obviously at this point, he was already in that Israel has done everything wrong tribe.
Why are they our closest ally? Why did they call Obama an anti-Semite? Because he let the Security Council condemn the settlements in the West Bank. That's American policy. So within a few months of that, I was told that I would not be getting a job with Daily Wire. They all blocked me. They all cut contact with me. And then Cassie Dillon, who was at one time my biggest advocate, became my biggest enemy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you go in there and you all of a sudden start trying to start fires and I mean, we know what the thing is too. It's like these people, they're just like leftists, right? They are so much like leftists. Well, I'm just asking the question. That's all I'm doing. I'm just asking the question. Why is this? Why is that? They're trying to lead you into things that you already know the answer that they're looking for. So it's not really like nothing about what he's trying to do there. It's always a presentation thing. It's not good faith. I'm just asking the question.
Even back in 2016 and early 2017, Nick was pondering real hard on America's loyalty to Israel. Now, Nick portrays this as just him talking about simple geopolitics.
Yep.
And maybe it was.
Nope.
Cassie
Certainly
Dillon
wasn't.
did convert to Judaism some years later after this. Maybe she was this huge Judeophile from the very get-go and she got super defensive about Israel when Nick brought it up. But I don't know Cassie Dillon that well to say that. I do know Nick Fuentes though, and he's given us classics like
Cassie, tell me the Jews don't run everything. Please, tell me I'm wrong. I never got like hysterical like that about it. But there was a period during college for like 9 months where I was just looking for somebody to prove how I was wrong.
It's people like this that are just like, there's no way, like, you could bring everything you want to him. You could bring everything you want to him in any of these, like, Jews do everything wrong, Jews run the world people. And you could bring up every possible point, but they're just going to continue to tell you theirs. That's the thing. Guys like him, all the Jewish people do everything wrong people, they don't actually want to be proven wrong. They don't want to have a debate. They don't want to have a conversation. They just want to talk at you and they want you to just go, I never thought of it that way. You might be right. And they're like, yes, got another one. Because they're not interested in being wrong or interested in talking about it. They are solely interested in convincing you. That's it. There's no actual conversation. It's just convincing you that the Jews run the world. The Jews do everything. Everything wrong in the world is the Jews, and everything, that is going wrong in your life. If you walk outside, you have a new pair of shoes and you happen to step off the curb and your shoe gets in that puddle and it gets soaking wet in mud and your sock gets soaked. That is not because you didn't look down. That's because the Jews. That is these type of fucking people. That's exactly the type of people and the type of person Nick Fuentes is.
I was just looking for someone seriously to tell me why the Jews aren't secretly running everything, and I just literally never got a good answer. Every time I got close, they would just fire me from things. That was it. Because I watched a documentary about how the Holocaust was fake in college. I think it must have been.
I watched a documentary about how the Holocaust was fake because, documentaries never have a lean. They never have anything wrong. They're never trying to just prove anything. The people that believe that documentaries tell the real thing, and granted, I'm watching a fucking documentary and reacting to it, right? So I understand maybe not everything here is going to be completely correct about Nick Fuentes. Maybe it's not. Then obviously, from the get-go, this documentary is meant to be disparaging of Nick Fuentes. That is not difficult to see, that the lean and the bias in this is to be disparaging to Nick Fuentes. But when anyone comes to me, is like, well, I watched a documentary and the documentary said, I'm like, you're an idiot. The documentary has some real things. They are the biggest lies by omission types of things that you will ever see, because there is no such thing as an objective documentary. All documentaries want to show you something, want to make you feel something. That's why they're called documentary movies, because they are still movies. They still cut the shit out of it. They still put things in certain ways to make you think, to make you believe, to make you feel something. Let's keep rolling with this genius.
My first semester, and it was called The Holocaust, Why We Believe. And I was watching it in my college dorm, and I'm like, man, this is making some really good points. So I just started asking people. I'm like...
These are also the people that believe in loose change, and they'll go, well, jet fuel can't melt steel beams, without thinking that, no, it can't melt it, but extreme heat can hurt the integrity of metal. But no, they don't want to hear that. No. Extreme heat, the metal stays metal until it's exploded, everyone. Nothing can hurt integrity, and integrity being hurt under tons and tons of weight can't make it collapse. And the pressure of air condensing quickly can't make it look like explosions. No. It has to be planted explosions. It has to be. That someone had to blow it up. It had to be demolition. It's people like this that drive me fucking crazy, man. Let's keep going with this psycho.
This is bullshit. It's all, like, the Holocaust is a lie, and the Jews run the media.
So I don't know, Nick. Maybe Cassie was overreacting and just slandered you and had her connections blackball you for no reason. Me personally, I think that is way more likely you got a little too comfortable and showed your power level. And Cassie, without you were just a right-leaning libertarian like you were literally claiming you were.
I am a libertarian with a small L, a Republican, and a constitutionalist. I believe in
With those belief systems, he is neither of those things. His current belief system, he is none of those things. None of them. Absolutely none.
individualism, American exceptionalism, and small government.
Just a year ago, got caught off guard. So that kind of took some of the wins out of Nick's sails, and it wouldn't be the last time someone from his old college days would try to screw Nick over. Like when somebody recorded audio and leaked it of him talking about interracial relationships.
Oh boy.
Her in your daily existence by
I
Jews.
told you yes, absolutely.
Would you say that me having sex with my dog is the same thing as me having sex with a black man?
No.
I-
But they would both be degenerate.
I don't really
Jesus.
care about Nick or anybody else's opinions.
The thing is, right there, we can respond to it. You could be a racist piece of shit in your personal life as long as you don't act on it. That's how I've always felt. You could be racist, you could be sexist, you could be bigoted, you could be any phobe you want, as long as it doesn't affect the way you treat that person. You can hate them on the inside. As long as you treat them like a person as when they're in front of you, then you can have your belief system. It is what it is. That's something that I've always believed. You can have your belief system. You can be an asshole as long as you don't act on it when that person is presented to you. Now, if you're a racist and you see the person of the race that you hate and you automatically go start throwing things at them or beating them, yes, that is wrong. But if you just don't like them and you're walking around, you don't like them, but you don't treat them any different, you can have your belief system even if it's fucked up.
On interracial relationships. I will say Nick being so anti-miscegenation is pretty odd for a dude whose dad is literally Mexican and whose personal hero is a bipolar black man who's obsessed with white women with fat asses. A little bit of a paradox going on there, Nick. But whatever, Nick was still going strong in 2017. In early February, Nick would debut the very first episode of America First Live, a show that was basically the Nicholas J. Fuentes Show 2.0 for Right Side Broadcasting Network, a conservative outlet that had picked Nick up.
Which is crazy that he was on RSBN. And I don't know if he still is on RSBN. I don't know if Nick's, he got deplatformed everywhere at some point. I have no idea. I don't know how to find Nick's show anymore. I never watched it. I think I've seen a few clips of Nick's show. I've never taken him. I've never taken the Groyper seriously at all. They're not people to be taken seriously. Let's keep it rolling.
Also co-founded America First Media with one James Alsop, who he also co-hosted.
Which is so funny that he's hijacked America First, right? He has completely and totally hijacked that term. He is making it seem like it's anything similar to what someone in the Trump administration or someone who's MAGA or someone who's a Republican says America First. He has completely and totally hijacked that. He is not America First. He's American isolationist. He's American racist and all that stuff, but he's not America First in that sense.
Hosted the podcast Nationalist Review with. Aside from a couple bumps in the road here and there, things were going pretty well for Nick. And then, that summer, he and James took a trip to Charlottesville. Okay, so there's this meme about how everyone in the far right is just secretly a Fed. There's no part of the political spectrum that glows in the dark quite as bright as the dissident right. Every other person is suspected of, if not being an FBI agent, of at least being an informant who's on their payroll. Now, while every influential dissident right figure has gotten glowy accusations once or twice, few have glowed as bright as Richard Spencer. Some of you might remember Spencer. He was
Richard Spencer is an absolute piece of shit. Let's keep going.
kind of a big deal shortly before and during
Yes, it
Trump's
was.
first term. Famous for classic quotes like, "I want to make white privilege great again. Africans actually benefited from white supremacy." And Sargon, you think you're more intelligent than you are.
Stop trying to being a dick.
Sargon, I am sorry. You're going to find this insulting. You think that you are more intelligent than you are, and that is a
you're a
difficult
mind
place
reader
for you
now.
to be.
Yeah, Spencer was bigger than any other name in the alt-right by far. He was also the dude who set off more Fed alarms than almost any other name in the alt-right
Definitely
by far.
did.
Because how did he end up as the king of the American far-right anyway? Well, he was anointed as such by the media, who never
And it's funny too, because like before Trump first started running, I mean, there was David Duke who was like the big racist, right? He was the big racist. It was all about David Duke. Richard Spencer just kind of popped up. Like he wasn't this mainstream. Maybe he was a racist piece of shit before that, but he wasn't as big of a mainstream guy as he was during the Trump presidency or the run up to the Trump presidency.
Never missed an opportunity to put a camera and a mic in Spencer's face, waiting for bro to give the spiciest hot take he had in the chamber, even inviting him for personal interviews, a privilege nobody else in that corner of the right wing was getting. This led a lot of other guys on the right to conclude that Richard Spencer was just controlled opposition who was getting all this clout and attention from the media, specifically because he made the rest of the right look bad. Now, while I see where these Spencer is totally a glowy guys are coming from, they neglect the possibility that Spencer is just slow. And this is the great quandary about Charlottesville. Was it an FBI honeypot to herd as many white nationalists as possible in one location? Or is Richard Spencer just retarded and didn't know why this was very obviously a very bad idea? While Spencer's motivations might stay in the dark, we can say for certain that everyone else who went is a certified dumbass. And that includes Nick Fuentes and James Alsop. I don't know what they were thinking, but they and everyone else pulled up to this far-right function like moss.
And here's the thing too. I remember when this was starting to go on because I've listened to, Glenn Beck and things like that for a long time. And I remember when this was being planned and hearing about it. And I remember them specifically saying, this smells bad. Something about this doesn't smell right. Avoid this. This seems like it's a setup for people to make something bad happen, for people that want something bad to happen. This does not seem legit. And lo and behold, what Charlottesville became. Let's keep going.
To a flame. And well,
blood and soil, blood and soil, blood and soil. You will not replace us. You will not replace us.
We begin tonight with that breaking news, a horrific scene in Charlottesville, Virginia. A white nationalist.
Now, thing is too, the way they frame this, like it was all the white nationalists. There was both fighting on both sides, y'all. Like with this, there was, the white nationalist assholes. They were there doing their thing, marching, being assholes, but they were confronted. People need to forget they had their rally, their bullshit that was going on. But the leftists decided to take it upon themselves to go and confront them. And then the fight happened. There would have been no violence if the leftists hadn't gone and confronted them. People always seem to leave that part out.
Rally that descended into deadly violence and chaos. The images just coming in, a car plowing into a crowd of demonstrators protesting against those white nationalists. A 32-year-old woman killed, a number of severe injuries, many life-threatening. A driver has been taken into custody.
Unite the right.
Which again, like what did people expect when you have all of these fucktards in one place? All of them, from the left and the right. And I remember too hearing about this and that they were calling it the Unite the Right. And once again, I go back to Glenn Beck, Stu Burgier over there, Pat Gray, Keith Malinak, who we've had on the show, saying that's not the right. The white supremacists, that's not the right. There's nothing uniting about this. If you are a conservative or Republican, stay away. There is nothing positive to be had there. Do not go to this rally. They are not on the right. They are not on our side.
Right, and its consequences were a disaster for the alt-right specifically and the right wing in general.
Yes.
Trump, along with the rest of the Republican Party, would spend the rest of his first term with the stench of this event all over him. And the alt-right? Oh, they were done. Cooked. We're talking mass deplatforming all across the net throughout all of the rest of the year.
Which again was ridiculous, right? That all of these platforms took it upon themselves to censor speech. Because while I don't agree with it, the speech should not be censored. There is no such thing as hate speech. There's speech you don't like. It's not hate speech. Hate speech isn't a real thing.
A lot of these sites were looking for a reason to call these dudes in the first place, especially the ones with bigger followings. And the heat from Charlottesville gave them the excuse they needed to do just that. You know what rising star in the dissident right managed to survive the great alt-right purges of 2017 and 18? Nicholas J. Fuentes. Somehow, our little far-right Chicano was one of the few who managed to keep his head on his shoulder. I guess he was just too short for that censorship site to clip him, because his YouTube...
Hey, that's mean. Don't be mean to Short Kings. I'm not that tall. I'm not that tall. I'd probably have to stand up on a chair. That just hurt me. I'm no defender of Nick Fuentes, but that was hurtful. Mikey, that was hurtful.
Channel and socials were left alone, for a while at least. The only real lick he got for going to unite the right was getting dropped by RSBN in August, but even that was more of a blessing than a curse, because America First was starting to gain some real steam. Nick would even make a small company out of it, the America First Network, with James Alsop by October. You ever wonder how Nick made it to the top of the dissident right? Well, this is how. He just got lucky. Nick's star would actually shoot even higher in the months following Charlottesville because of the interviews he received from...
Is that what I'm doing wrong? Am I not wearing a suit and tie? And is my background too plain? Or like, is it having real stuff behind you not good? Do I need a green screen instead? I mean, I have the microphone. I actually have the same microphone sitting over there. I like this one better, to be quite honest. I think this one sounds nicer than that other microphone, but I have that same exact microphone, the Yeti, the Blue Yeti. Is that what I'm doing wrong? Like, I don't know. Is a green screen it? Everyone tell me, what the fuck am I doing wrong? What are we doing here? Let's keep going.
Outlets like Time Magazine, the Boston Globe, NBC's Today, and even Fox News. Now, a lot of this attention was, admittedly, really negative, and it resulted in so many people targeting him and sending him threats online that now he didn't think he was safe studying at Boston University anymore. So Nick was like, and dropped out shortly after Charlottesville to move back in with his parents in Chicago. Now, I have no way to prove this, but I'm 100% positive that Nick dropping out so abruptly was motivated by Kanye, who's his idol, his second messiah. He probably has a shrine to this nigga right next to his bed. You just know he was playing College Dropout on repeat during his whole flight back home.
And on top of that, I truly think he dropped out just to get more attention. Because that whole entire, I'm not safe at college. I don't feel safe. And granted, don't get me wrong, conservatives, especially at that time, weren't safe at college, right? But when you're someone that has had a stature at the time, I'm not safe at college. I'm dropping out. I got to move back to Chicago with my parents. It's like, that's one of the most unconservative things to do. To not stand your ground, to go back, move back in with your parents after you've had success. I don't know. That's just me. Let's keep rolling.
Now, Nick, so far as I know, has never attempted to go back to school or even expressed a desire to go back to school. His point,
why the fuck would he go back? He has a following. He probably makes decent money off the Goipers, off of exploiting them and using them and probably getting a ton of tips from them. I wouldn't go back if I was him either. The grift he has is amazing.
Was set, and it wasn't a straightforward path towards being a politician or proper political analysis like he and others who knew him imagined. His path would be that of an edgy e-celeb.
Became an edgelord. Chapter 2, one-man show.
Now some of you might be wondering, Mikey, what happened to James Alsop, Nick's co-host? Don't worry, we'll get to James. But first, we gotta establish a couple things about Nick. So at this point, he's officially a political e-celeb of the right-wing fringe variety. That's a real small niche. You might think that would give him free reign, but nah, the far-right influencer sphere is one of the most overcrowded on the internet, cause none of these mainstream platforms really want to host these dudes. So they all huddle up on the same few tiny-ass but pro-free speech sites and fight over the same tiny-ass pool of viewers and supporters.
And on top of that, you even go further, and where Nick sits on the far right, there's a lot less over there to pay attention to him. So like I said, while he does probably have a following and he's probably exploiting the shit out of the Goipers to give him a ton of money, there's not as many there. Like the people, it's always the loud minority that seems like they have more, right? It's the loud ones on the left. It's the super loud Goipers on the right. It's the white nationalists on the right. There's not that many of them, y'all. There's really not that many of them. They just make a lot of noise. Let's keep going.
All that by itself would be pretty rough. But what's worse, really the roughest part about being a dissident right figure, and the main reason none of these motherfuckers ever really get anywhere, is that they all hate each other. You would have thought the people who hated far-right niggas the most were leftists, but nah, you want someone who's gonna get real grimy on Richard Spencer or Mike Enoch? Call another dissident righty. This friendly fire results obviously in a lot of drama, and there's never been a bigger friendly fire merchant or drama monger in the dissident right than Nick Fuentes.
And it's so funny too, right? Because it's like what I'm doing here. Like I'm obviously doing this documentary, like watching it on Nick Fuentes, but it's like it's so fucking stupid that this is the best way to get noticed, right? By making fun of others, by trying to call them out, by trying to create drama. And me personally, I'm watching this. David set me up with this. I've always thought Nick Fuentes was a dumbass. I never really brought him up much because I think he's a dumbass. But it's like, this is like the way to get clout. If I just go at Nick Fuentes every day and I just try to sit there and get on his radar and hopefully he says something about me and then we can argue. And that, like, it's so dumb. The atmosphere for streamers, for influencers, and all that, it's so dumb. It's all drama based. It's what Candace Owens is doing. It's what everybody does. And it's so friggin' lame. I have no problem talking shit against someone if they deserve it, right? But I don't feel like getting big just because I get into a battle. And like, I'm not a person to battle. Like, I'm not going to sit there and do a gigantic fucking X threat against somebody. I don't care. I'll have them on my show. We'll talk. We'll debate. I'm fine with that. But it's just so dumb. It's so dumb. But let's continue trashing Nick Fuentes after I say that. Haha.
If there's an alt-writer with an opinion Nick didn't like, he would personally make sure that dude was destroyed and publicly admonished on stream and on Twitter for the world to see. Now, Nick's excuse for this behavior was that all these alt-right dudes, which he never considered himself a part of, just weren't optical like he was. What with their open Nazism and openly white supremacist talking points. Nick thought the far right needed to take a more strategic approach, hiding their power levels until they could get people who shared their interest in the positions of power and change the GOP from the inside. And doesn't that just sound subversive as fuck? Like
honestly, like, it's so funny too, because like the things he said were changing. This is all leftist, y'all. What people don't realize is Nick Fuentes is on the left. The white nationalists are on the left. They are collectivists. They're authoritarian collectivists. They are on the left. Nick Fuentes is not on the right. Maybe at one point he had some theories that were on the right. He's not on the right, y'all. And if you're on the right and you're following Nick Fuentes, you're a fucking idiot. Let's keep rolling.
You constantly hear these dudes crying about Marxists and Jews subverting the West when that's literally what they want to do. See, it's not that subversion is automatically bad. It's just bad when people who don't share my specific politics are doing the subverting. Anyway, Nick's obsession with optics and disapproval with how a lot of his dissident right peers got down led to him butting heads and stirring the pot with a lot of them on the regular. Millennial woes.
The good part is with what Nick Fuentes is, Nick Fuentes isn't a full-on moron. And a lot of these people on the far dissident right leftists are fucking idiots. So in order to like destroy them is not very hard because they're stupid. Right? And they don't know how to actually form an argument. So Nick, being a semi-intelligent human being, destroys these motherfuckers, no problem. It's not difficult.
Sarah McCarthy, Lauren Southern, Richard Spencer, the list goes on. If there was drama popping off in the dissident right sector of the internet in 2017, there was like an 80% chance Nicholas J. Fuentes was involved. Knicks fans thought that Nick's aggressiveness towards his peers was actually based in a good thing because he was cutting the chaff, going after guys who were harming the far right in the long term and holding back its more credible elements. That's bullshit though, because the actual
100%.
reason was just that he was a shit-stirring troll who purposely got into dogfights with other dissident right influencers for clout, to steal some of their audience and to discredit their movements while building up his own.
And that's the thing too. It's also like, if you don't engage, people are going to think you're weak. They're going to think you're a bitch. You don't stand by your stuff, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, sometimes it's just not worth it. When you're an adult, you don't have to engage in everything, right? When you're an adult, you pick your battles. You don't have to engage in every little spat. So, but the thing is, these people that are only seeking internet clout and internet fame, that is what they're going to do because they think they can gain something. Even if they don't get the better of someone, they got bigger, they got looked at, they got noticed. And it's just such a dumb way to live.
Just did it for attention. If Nick actually cared about any of these retarded movements in the dissident right getting off the ground, he would have done what a lot of the guys he was throwing shade at did and got out to do some actual activism and canvassing for political candidates he supported. But nope, just gonna stay inside, do my little show, play my video games from the comfort of my parents' basement. Hey, who does that sound like? Don't let the fact that he streams in a suit all the time fool you. Nick is shockingly lazy. That's how you can tell he's only part Mexican, because his work ethic outside of streaming is embarrassing. Which finally brings us back to Nick's co-host, James Alsop. Back in mid-January of 2018, Nick had an episode of America First where he talked to former congressional candidate Paul Nehlen. Nehlen would lose, by the way. And his association with Nick Fuentes would permanently cripple his future political ambitions.
Yeesh.
Anyway, despite their talk mostly being about Nehlen's policy,
which I do disagree with, right? You should be able to go and talk to whoever the fuck you want. Like, if Nick Fuentes ever wanted to jump on my show, I would talk to him. I would debate him. I would talk to whoever the fuck comes on here. Now, maybe not anymore. Maybe not if there's documentary. Dave said that this documentary fucking dives in. But I don't believe in saying X isn't allowed on here because of something X, Y, and Z, right? Maybe the one main reason I wouldn't have someone like Nick Fuentes on is he might say something ridiculously inflammatory and nuke my small channel, right? Because my channel is not very big. Probably wouldn't be crazy to try and build what I have back up, right? Like, it's not like I'd have to like go crazy to get my 200 something followers back. But that's like the main reason to not have a Nick Fuentes on, to not have Destiny on or something like that. Because they say dumb shit that might nuke your channel. But in order to just like the whole entire, you associated with them, like having a conversation with people wasn't wrong. There's nothing wrong with it.
Proposals and just a sliver being about Jews, Nick still felt it was a good idea to name the episode Paul Nehlen on the Tribe. This was when Nick was still on YouTube. And I don't know, man, that just doesn't sound very optical to me. And James felt the same way. Unlike Nick, he didn't want a channel that he was the partial owner of to be demonetized, have live streaming disabled, or just get straight up nuked by the YouTube powers that be. So wanting to be on the careful side and considering the title to be clickbait anyway, he changed it. And Nick was pissed. He took this editorial decision by James as a big insult. Just who did Alsop think he was, backseat driving Nick's decision with his channel? Again, Nick was only partial owner of America First Media. It belonged to James too. But Nick wasn't stressing those type of details. He was thoroughly fed up and took to Periscope, a now defunct Twitter streaming app, and announced that America First Media was done. It was over with. And it was mostly James Alsop and Matt McEwen's fault.
What a baby back bitch just from something like that, right? Like, that just proves like you have bitch tendencies. If changing the title of a YouTube video is enough to break it up. Now, I don't know if there was things bubbling behind the scenes already. There might have been, but that's just baby back bitch stuff. It says a lot about Nick Fuentes. It says a lot about him.
Who the fuck was Matt McEwen, you ask? Well, he was Nick and James' mutual partner that Nick put on blast out of nowhere. Nick actually divulged quite a bit of dirty laundry in his Periscope video about both McEwen and James, especially the latter. According to Nick, this fallout was a long time coming because James was lazy and didn't contribute nearly as much to America First Media as he had led people to believe. His procrastinations being the main reason they were occasionally late with episodes of the Nationalist Review. But the worst part of it all? James had fucking doxed Nick's sister. And that's the story of how Nick Fuentes ended up as a one-man show and how James Alsop faded into obscurity. At least according to Nick to his fans.
Which is like, it's so crazy, right? Like, me and David do the show together. And we have plenty of friends. Like, obviously, Side Effect was up there. Hack No Caps come on. People I consider real friends. And if you consider somebody real friends, I get it. You don't want to fuck with money. That's not something you want to do. You never want to fuck with each other's money. But to just go and just be like a fucking douchebag like that, like, it really says like a lot about the person you are if you're just so willing to so quickly squash somebody who worked with you, somebody who was, riding with you, rising up with you, and just squash them and try to destroy them. It's just terrible.
James, however, made a retort to Nick titled "The Truth About America First Media," where Alsa provided receipts that proved that literally everything Nick had said was a lie.
As you've probably seen by now on Twitter or Gab or elsewhere, the company that I co-founded back in October, America First Media, has officially parted ways with the host of the America First show, Nicholas J. Fuentes. Unfortunately, Mr. Fuentes did not want the split to be amicable. He immediately launched on the offensive, retweeting everything from straight up libel and slander about me, to insinuating I had Down syndrome, to doxing our business partner and insinuating that I had doxed his sister on poll. He tried to present me as having not done any work for the company, and his evidence for this was the 100 live streams he had done versus the 15 live streams that I had done. Now, Nick, since I know you're watching, I want to present a challenge to you. Think back in your memory and tell me who did each of these following tasks. Fix hours of poorly recorded Nicholas J. Fuentes audio for the Nationalist Review podcast, coordinating the college tour, building the website from nothing, coordinating guest appearances on our broadcast, producing and editing every single episode of Nationalist Review, facilitating merchandise, finding suppliers, handling all packing and distribution right out of my living room, writing and managing the website, coordinating the Patreon, troubleshooting Discord role problems, and building the paywall feature for the site. Was that you doing these things, Nick? Or was that somebody else?
The reason...
It's funny too, because I don't do all those things, right? But I do a fuck ton of those things. And it's not fun work. Recording, doing the streams and stuff. This is the easy stuff. Trying to book and coordinate guests isn't fun. I'm lucky David provides me with these videos. David is, pretty good behind the scenes in terms of, helping me out, giving me ideas for titles, things like that, helping me with some of the promo art in terms of opinions. But I'm doing a lot of that on my own. A lot of that shit's on my own. And I understand. And this isn't a knock towards David. David, I forced David to come along on this fucking show with me initially. And I think he's been happy that since he's been doing it, all the people, me and him have both got to meet together, to interview and do stuff. But even David will acknowledge it, that I'd have done a lot of this shit on my own. And it's not easy. It's not easy to do all that stuff, to stay on top of that. Plus me having a full-time job, being a father and all that, being a husband. None of it is easy. This is the easy stuff. Live streaming, talking, bullshitting, having fun. This is the easy stuff. All the other stuff, it's just tedious behind the scenes work. And it's not that fun, but it's got to get done. And like I mentioned earlier in the stream, where I'm putting up a lot of videos now. I'm trying to record a bunch of videos on topical things and things like that, and giving out my opinion and creating clips. And again, David's behind the scenes helping me do all that, but it's a fucking lot. It's a lot. Let's keep rolling.
James didn't do as many shows as Nick was because he was preoccupied doing all the behind-the-scenes busy work that Nick didn't do. He was also having to balance school in between all of that since, unlike Nick, he didn't drop out and run back to his parents' basement just because he was getting some threatening messages over his political views.
Oh yeah, and the doxing of Nick's sister, not only did that not happen, it would have been literally impossible for James to dox Nick's sister because her docs were just public photos that had already been posted on Poll during December of last year. There is a 0% chance that Nick didn't already know this.
But according to James, the real reason why Nick decided to kamikaze his business relationship with him and Matt McGowan was over a PC.
That brings us to the crux of the matter, the PC question.
In DMs, Nick said he needed a new computer to improve the quality of his show. He asked James and Matt about what he would need and how much it would cost. James, after some time, decided that Nick getting better equipment would be good for America First Media in the long run. So he told Nick that he would fund him a new PC through the company funds directly. It was only going to be a few $100s, but Nick still called that generous.
Broke nigga alert. Broke nigga alert. Broke nigga alert. Broke nigga alert. Broke nigga alert.
Now, despite James going through all this trouble, Nick started getting pissy anyway, just because James and Matt didn't respond back quickly enough, mainly because they were busy. Again, Nick wasn't going to school at this point, and he had left all the behind-the-scenes stuff to James and Matt. So when he wasn't...
Is it any surprise that Nick Fuentes is just a baby back bitch? Like, I don't think it's surprising at all. I really don't think it's surprising at all.
streaming, he was either shitposting on Twitter or playing video games. The idea that an adult could have actual responsibilities or a schedule that would consume a lot of their time was beyond our little Mexican Aryan's mind. Nick's bitching and negging caused the discussion to break down, and during the time when James was expecting
Hold on. Then forget it. Matt, text me when you're ready to be a man. No need to escalate it and take shots. We'll just talk through it tonight and price out a good build. The stated purpose of the call was to straighten us F words out. I have no interest in subjugating myself to that. You're going to be set straight. Just a matter of when you decide you're ready to communicate. Let's have a conference tonight. Subject is not straightening blanks out. Subject is communication and respect. Does that work?
Wanted to cool off and come back to make peace afterward, Nick started slandering him and Matt on Periscope. And that's the story of how America First Media actually died. Nick crying in DMs because James Alsop didn't respond to him quick enough about his new PC that he wouldn't be building and that he wasn't really paying for anyway. A lot of people would...
Wow. Nate, you saying everyone in the sector is a pansy? Yes, you're not wrong. That whole entire so far right there on the left. That's what I'm going to call them. They're the right of the left over there. That is what all those fucking people are.
Say that Nick going his own way was the best move he could have made. Regardless of whether they're right or wrong, the main takeaway from all this is that Nick is a guy who has a problem with playing nice with others. This dude couldn't get along with anybody in the nationalist dissident right sphere, not even his own co-host. And somehow, this was Nick at his most grounded. Because from 2018 onwards, this brother would gradually go off the rails.
Yes, he would. Chapter 3, Nick the Knife.
Even though the year got off to a pretty hectic start, what with him snaking the shit out of his business partners and causing America First Media to collapse, 2018 was still a pretty tame year for Nick. A lot of this is due to the fact that this was the year, more than any other in my opinion, that Nick was grinding, just putting that work in. I mean, it's Nick, so there's still plenty of drama mongering and trolling, but this was probably the last year Nick treated his streaming career like an actual job. And a lot of it was due to the fact that he was riding solo now. He wasn't propped up by a network like RSB.
And on top of that, though, I hope I mentioned he wasn't in college. He had nothing else to do, so he could just sit around and stream and make videos and do whatever the fuck he wanted to do.
He knew for a fact that mainstream outlets like the Daily Wire weren't going to pick him up and give him work anymore, and he didn't have someone like James Alsop to handle all the technical background shit that he didn't care about. It was all him. You guys gotta understand that Nick Fuentes has never had like an actual blue-collar job.
No, he
never
has
even
not.
worked retail or in a restaurant
Hasn't
before.
done shit.
So actually grinding for paper was a new experience for him. Nick considered that $500 James was gonna give him so he could get a new PC as generous. Just 5 Benjamins was career-changing money for Nick at the time. And now, he was a college dropout, living off McDonald's while streaming out of his parents' basement. 2018 really was the closest Nick ever came to being working class, because that brother was struggling.
Which is crazy. You see this all the time, right? You see this all the time. You see these people that talk about, working and blue collar. And again, this is why, more of a reason why I consider Nick Fuentes on the left. Nick Fuentes is closer to Bernie Sanders than he is to anybody on the right. He is a Bernie bro. Never fucking had a real job in his life. Only, did things that people wouldn't consider hard work. And here he is fucking complaining and trying to tell people how to, run their life and how to do shit. Like, fuck this guy. He doesn't know anything.
So with money most certainly being an item for him, and with his future once pretty well thought out, now clouded in uncertainty, Nick decided to go all in on building up America First, pulling himself up by his bootstraps and going to work. He worked on establishing his America First brand on YouTube, focusing on expanding his audience and gaining lots of subs. He still made time for attending nationalist events like the American Renaissance Conference, becoming the youngest guy to ever give an address there, and further legitimizing himself in nationalist circles. But the biggest decision he made throughout 2018, or rather the decision he would make that would have the most profound effect on his internet...
I don't know who the fuck that guy is in the background all the time. Is that like his new little minion? Or his minion? I know nothing about the Goipers and about this show. That guy just looks like a fucking minion that hangs out back there. I don't know who he is.
Career going forward was Nick getting involved
in internet blood sports.
Oh,
Internet
boy.
blood sports, or simply IBS, were a style of debate stream that really took off in early 2018.
We have some of our favorite people that are around the internet due to internet blood sports. Like, obviously, Dave is a big fan of Keno Casino, and they were both involved in the internet blood sports. They'll probably get talked about in this video.
Tired of the white bread, spiceless debates everyone was acquainted with on both the left and the right, a new format emerged that revolved around two niggas that hated each other jumping into a digital cage match. Are you a trans rad feminist, a pro-theocracy incel, a militant atheist, just a fucking Nazi? Well, get your ass in the Thunderdome and throw down in front of a bloodthirsty audience. And of course, IBS attracted degenerates from all across the political spectrum who engaged in flagging, doxing, and even swatting. And Nick loved this shit. Bro was genuinely in his element, running sets with skeptics.
It's funny. We get most right now. I'd say we get a fucking ton of the individuals that are influential and still streaming and still doing stuff from this time of blood sports on the internet. The internet blood sport debates, the veterans are still all around the streaming world and are still uber popular from that time. People still love these individuals and absolutely, still love watching the shit out of them. Remember their days when they were all involved in this.
Libs and alt-righters. He'd even hop on Ethan Ralph's kill stream in 2018 to go blow for blow in a reunion grudge match with James Alsop.
Well, it's funny. I do the internet blood sports, and people give me a hard time about it. What do you think it is when I call out Richard Spencer and all these other people? I love internet blood sports. Nobody wants to jump in and join me with it. And when I do, everybody yells at me. Everybody's like, Nick, you're burning bridges, Nick. Nick, really? Again? You're starting drama again? Shut up, fat. I'll start drama wherever I want.
Now, Ralph wasn't the only internet.
Now, on top of that, listen, if you're going to jump into the blood sport arena, you just fucking go. There is no such thing as burning a bridge. That bridge is already gone. You go deep. And that was a part of blood sports. You said whatever the fuck you wanted to say. You argued. You got as low as possible. You went to war. And that was the end of it. Or unless you went another round. That's it.
Character who Nick would start linking up with. In fact, there was a growing cast of eccentric characters cropping up around Nick. We had Baked Alaska, a failed rapper, failed political commentator, future failed YouTuber and streamer, pretty much a failed everything, who would start broing it up with Nick from late 2017 onward, and who will remain tight with the America First crew from there on out, despite initially being a Richard Spencer ball wash. There was Beardson Beardley.
I did like the normal 9-to-5 shit, and it was fucking soul crushing.
I don't know who the fuck the
dude. It's like,
person is.
you know, I was like 18, and I was like, I'm gonna be a musician, and I'm gonna tour, and then that fucking failed, and I was like, well, I guess I better just be like a normal person. And now I'm like going through my midlife crisis where it's like, you know what, internet racist live streamer, that seems pretty cool. I'm gonna do that. That seems interesting. I'm gonna throw it all away for that. And honestly, best decision I ever made, man.
The attack dog of America First, notorious for his loyalty to Nick, his eagerness to go after anyone who challenged Nick or AF, and also for being the biggest respecter of women in America First. And we got Ollie Alexander, who, hold on, we gonna get...
Ollie Alexander's fucking gone. I have not seen shit on Ollie Alexander in forever. I know he was in some scandal. I don't even remember what the fucking scandal was. I think it was some underage kid stuff, which happens with all these fucking people. They all get accused of this. The fuck's wrong with them? I don't know. Let's keep going.
To him later. Growing alongside this burgeoning motley crew was also Nick's general audience, with his most adamant fans being called groypers. And if you know a couple things about Nick, you probably had the displeasure of running across a couple of these retards before. They're Nick's fans who, besides giving him money and boosting his Twitter posts with sock puppets and bots, also serve as his personal internet army.
Which I will not be surprised if after posting this and after watching this, the groypers start to float in. Hi guys. How are you groypers? Think you're all pretty fucking stupid. What's going on?
Who raid, dox, harass, and lie at his behest, and who pride themselves to loyalty to Nick above all else. Now, some of you might listen to that and say, Mikey, That sounds a little cultish. Nah, it's not a cult. I mean, yeah, they do whatever Nick says, and he might call them a cult or his army on his show, but only as a joke. You know, tongue in cheek. Nick's an irony bro, after all.
Irony and optics, these are the two hands. These are the two hands that are going to save the white race.
Now, Nick doesn't really seem to know.
He's not even white. He's half Mexican. God. Why do the fucking people, like, it's not even like he's like a... Oh my God. People like this guy give me headaches.
What irony actually means? To Nick, irony is just saying what you actually for real believe, but in a really sarcastic way, so you can claim plausible deniability afterwards. But look, the whole Groyper Army thing, it was just a bit of fun. A LARP. At least it was until 2019 when Nick would deploy his Groyper Army into battle in an event that will become the high watermark of Nick's internet career. Fast forwarding to 2019, and Nick is taking a slightly different strategy. Whereas before he was more of an outwardly edgy guy, what with his Hitler callouts and Holocaust jokes, the thought finally occurred to Nick that, you know, maybe given the impression that I'm an unironic Nazi who fucks with Hitler isn't a good look if I want to gain any actual influence in mainstream politics and not get deplatformed off everything.
Which is funny, right? Because you'll see people like Nick do this. You'll see people like Nick and a lot of people in the influencer space that will do something, see maybe it's not working that well, or it's not doing what and okay, I got to switch it up. And then they switch it up and they start acting like they were always that thing, right? It's funny to see how a lot of these people move. Nope. What's going on here? There we go. Let's keep it going.
So he started toning it down and telling his followers to do the same. This 2019 change, this adherence to optics in actual practice rather than just lip service, was motivated by a few things. One was when he experienced his first real hiccup with a payment processor when Stripe suddenly shut down his account that January. Another was that...
Which I don't actually agree with. Yes, Nick Fuentes is an asshole, but I hate the fact that they are starting to get involved in politics.
That Nick wanted to branch out more into less politically fringe spaces of the internet to spread the gospel of America first to fresh ears. The most surreal example of this by far was this...
Look at this fucking group over here. This is wild to look at. You have Trainwrecks TV who's hosting it down here. Nick Fuentes, Sargon, Asmongold, Destiny, and Hassan. Holy fucking shit. What a crew they have assembled here.
Trainwreck TV podcast appearance. Just look at this fever dream ass lineup. Asmongold, Sargon, Destiny, Hassan. Now the last big reason Nick started to readjust was due greatly to the influence of a new addition to his burgeoning roster of Groyper generals, Patrick Casey. Patrick would, by the end of 2019, essentially be Nick's top guy, whispering good counsel.
Funny thing is, I have no idea who the fuck these people are. You would think that I like politics. I'm involved. I like getting involved in all this shit. You would think I know any of these people. I have no idea who these people are. This is the first time I'm hearing of Patrick Casey and who the fuck this person is. I have no idea who this person is.
In his ear and helping him really put the pieces together. He had started his own dissident right movement, Identity Europa, a few years prior, and it fucking failed. Failed miserably. Nobody even remembers it aside from making memes about the name. Gradually, he settled in and became an invaluable member of Nick's inner circle. And he would really prove his worth in what would be the crescendo of America First, the 2019 Groyper War.
Is this like the calling card of all these fucking losers? They all wear these suits. I'm trying to think, like, is that like we have Fuentes doing it? We have whoever this guy is. Is that what they do? They all wear these suits and they try and present as like these straight and narrow people? Bizarre looking group.
First, let me give you some backstory about the origins of this earth-shattering conflict I'm about to tell you about. Believe it or not, it all began with one woman who's become quite famous in the past few months. Ashley St. Clair. Before she was getting on her Chinese concubine type shit, planning in great detail how she was gonna baby trap the richest man on the planet, she was a simple conservative for Turning Point USA. She's pretty popular in that sphere of the right wing for being one of its few young and active female influencers.
What's crazy about Ashley St. Clair too is before she became, you know, just another one of Elon's hosts, she was funny. She was funny. She did some pretty good comedy and some pretty good bits. I actually thought Ashley St. Clair was funny at times. But now it just like goes to show it was all a grift. All of it. And it sucks when you see these people that you actually like. I'm not saying I was like a massive Ashley St. Clair fan, but I saw some of her stuff and I would laugh at some of her stuff. She was on my ex thing. Like, it's all a grift, man. It's all you realize with so much, everything is a grift, obviously, right? We're doing this, trying to get my voice out, things like that. We're all trying to make a little change in our pocket, right? But some of us are doing it and speaking what we believe. So many people are just out there and just saying whatever the fuck they think is going to get them money. And it is so ridiculous. But I guess that's the world, y'all. Let's keep going.
But in 2019, she made a career upending mistake, one that would send her, the dissident right, and somehow America itself down a very unexpected path. She hung out with Nick Fuentes and his friends for a little bit. And after Paul Nealon and James Alsop, Ashley will become the third major casualty of what I like to call the Fuentes curse.
If you ever cozy up, like, it's one thing to interview Nick Fuentes, it's one thing to be on his show and talk to him, whatever. If you cozy up to somebody like that, you're a fucking idiot. And that's just that.
See, just by being near Nick, like within his ambience for too long, his evil Mexican white nationalist aura taints you, branding you with a real-life brand of sacrifice that gradually leads to things in your life imploding around you.
Out.
For Nealon, he got his political dreams crushed by talking to Nick once. And Ashley, well, after Nick put her in a headlock and put his groiper stank all over her, Charlie Kirk and the other fellas at Turning Point USA decided they didn't want that trick no more. Nah, now she was tainted with the mustiness of the Mexican child savior of the white race, so she got booted from TPU with the swiftness. Nick took great offense to this, either because he really saw Ashley as a friend and was offended on her behalf, or because it pissed him off that TPU would fire somebody just for being associated with him.
Which, there's a double-edged sword to this, right? You shouldn't, I don't think something should happen to you just because you decide to talk to somebody or something like that, or hang out with somebody. But at the same time, if I'm a private company and I think that your association with someone is going to bring a negative impact on my company, it's within my fucking rights to tell you to kick rocks. So part of me doesn't blame Charlie Kirk and TPUSA for being like, Ashley, you're cozying up too much with a bunch of people that do not represent anything about our movement and what we're trying to build here. Bye. Let's keep going.
Regardless, Nick the Knife wasn't gonna let this ride. In his opinion, the gauntlet had just been thrown. He already hated those niggas at Turning Point USA anyway, and now he had a proper casus belli to unleash the frogs on Charlie Kirk and his punk bitch ass. Ashley St. Clair became the face that launched 1,000 groypers and led to America First declaring war on Turning Point USA and giving Charlie Kirk the biggest headache of his life. Now,
which is so corny, right? As you compare what Charlie Kirk has built, well, what he did build. Fuck, I hate saying that. I hate saying that in past tense. But what, the late Charlie Kirk built with TPUSA, as compared to what Nick Fuentes had then and has now, it's pathetic. Nate G saying smart to avoid the gay fed. Keep going here.
Now, just to be clear, Nick wasn't actually leading his army in this war. He was in more of a commander-in-chief type of role, like his idols, Hitler and Stalin. The actual field marshal, organizing operations and commanding troops on the ground, was Patrick Casey, the most prestigious of Nick's groyper general, and the dude who, honestly more than Nick himself, will be the one responsible for the event that really put Nick's name on the map. His primary target would, of course, be Charlie Kirk. In 2019, Charlie Kirk was seen as the conservative golden boy.
And to be quite honest, at this point, and even up until his passing, Charlie Kirk was basically the number 2 in command in terms of what the MAGA, the True America First movement was. And there were many people and a lot of people that were kingmakers that were like, hey, Charlie's a future president, or at least someone we're going to run, which is wild, and that's exactly why they took him out, because they knew he was dangerous. Let's keep rolling.
Only 24, very personable, already linking up with big names in the GOP.
and his organization, Turning Point USA, having brought in millions in donations over the years. Yeah, young Charlie could do no wrong in the eyes of conservatives, save Nick Fuentes and his Groyper minions. Now in late 2019, Charlie had a culture war tour where he, along with guests like Rob Smith, Rand Paul, and even Donald Trump Jr., would go from college to college, antagonizing the students with their unassailable facts and lies.
Which was on brand with Charlie Kirk, right? Unlike Nick Fuentes, unlike me, who sits back here behind the camera and complains and reads things and talks about our opinions, Charlie was out there. And people are like, why are you going after stupid college kids? Because college kids are supposed to be the ones that were the educated amongst us. They were the future leaders of the country. So it makes sense to go into colleges and try and talk a little sense into these dumb little morons. Let's keep rolling. Nice picture of NL over here.
No, basic bitch triggering the libs type shit. To be honest, the only one of these tours that I've ever really liked was Milo Yiannopoulos'. For starters, his tour in 2016 had a way better name than Charlie's. Charlie Kirk was just expecting to get some good highlights, get his name in a few articles, and get the chance to dunk on some snowflakes.
Yep.
Unfortunately for Charlie, the snowflakes who were getting dunked on were him and his guests.
Hello. So my name is Patrick Casey. I'm an American nationalist and America First patriot. So, and despite all of that, despite my ardent support for the president and his policies, I was actually kicked out of CPAC earlier this year.
But I didn't kick you out of this event.
No, and I'm not going to blame. I'm not going to blame you.
Just making sure.
Yeah. You're very defensive here. I get that. As was my good friend Nicholas J. Fuentes, whom I believe you were just discussing up there. But look, I'm not going to blame you for that.
I just want to make sure.
I've got a question here.
Is that the troll that keeps tweeting about?
He's not a troll. He's a very intelligent guy who has a lot to say.
Right? Oh my God, that is so. I don't use the term cringe, but that's cringeworthy, man.
He's an intelligent guy with a lot to say.
Jesus Christ.
Eat shit, dude. No, nobody from the left wants to challenge you. It's all Groypers.
Quick and fun, lighthearted question for you, Charlie. So I know you gave a speech in Jerusalem earlier this year.
Yes, I did.
Were there any awesome, fun dance parties that you guys had afterwards? Because I heard that Israelis are some of the best dancers in the world. If you guys don't believe me, just Google dancing Israelis. It's insane how good their dance moves are.
This is leftist shit. This is leftist shit. It's so funny. I forgot about all this. But if you are a conservative and you're on the right or whatever, how do you not see that what Nick Fuentes does, what the Groypers do, what this bullshit is all leftist tactics? Because he's a collectivist. Let's keep going.
And you have multiple times advocated on behalf of accepting homosexuality, accepting homosexual acts as normative in the conservative movement. How does anal sex help us win the culture war?
Bro, these Groypers even heckled and trolled Donald Trump Jr. Nobody on this tour was safe. And I gotta hand it to America First. This shit was brilliant. Counter culture. Turning Point USA was basically GOP Jr. Baby Republicans who just repeated all the mainstream conservative talking points through the mouth of a 20-something-year-old with a 5 head. Charlie Kirk was a fucking poser and got exposed as such when he got trolled by the actual edgy and counterculture Groypers. Credit where credit is due, this was fun to watch.
The thing is, though, it's the only pushback I'll put there is Charlie Kirk was bringing the mainstream theory over into places where that was the edge, right? Where college campuses and things like that, where they were sitting there and the most conservative thing that they thought existed was the Constitution, right? Listening to the Constitution was incredibly conservative. So where he was going, he was on the edge. Now, when you're bringing in the right of the left wing, okay, then they're going to definitely seem further because they are further. Let's keep going.
But again, the success of the Groyper War was largely owed to Patrick Casey. Nick mostly just sat at home and laughed at it on stream. Regardless, a W is a W, and this was a massive W for Nick and America First. His profile, not only in the far right, but also in moderate right and even liberal circles, blew up exponentially at Charlie Kirk's expense. So, as we approach the end of 2019, you would expect Nick would be on cruise control. His name was in the news, he was making tons of money, and he had finally put those Turning Point USA frauds in their place. Dissident right former all-star Milo Yiannopoulos was singing his praises as the new right-wing provocateur. He and Patrick were planning the first half-pack, America First.
Which I do have to say, I'm a fan of Milo. Milo says some ridiculous shit, but Milo's fucking hilarious. Let's keep going.
Political Action Conference in early 2020, where they were lining up several elected officials like Michelle Malkin and Paul Gosar to speak at it. Like, the momentum behind bro should have been on.
Where the fuck did Michelle Malkin fall to? She was like an it girl for a little while. Where the hell did Michelle Malkin? Maybe I'll look up Michelle Malkin at some point. Let's keep rolling here.
Stoppable. But Nick was stopped by himself. If there's one thing you can't do with somebody like Nick Fuentes, it's give him too many W's in a row in too short a span of time. Because they can't handle it. They start losing their minds and thinking that they're untouchable, their position unassailable. Fools like this must be humbled on a regular basis, or else pride and self-delusion will take hold of them and cause them to self-combust and burn everything down.
Hello, yeah, it's me again. Could you just patch me through to the optics department, please? Hello. Yeah, just a quick question I wanted to run by you here. How does Nicholas J. Fuentes having gay sex help us win the culture war?
Oh my god. Chapter 4, Catboy Appreciator.
So yeah, in November, literally the middle of the biggest event in the history of his movement, Nick made this joke.
Max says if I take 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies and Cookie Monster has 15 ovens, working 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years, how long does it take Cookie Monster to make 6 million batches of cookies? I don't know, that's a good question. It doesn't really sound correct to me. Wait a second. It takes 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies, and you have 15 ovens, probably in 4 different kitchens, right? Doing 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years. How long would it take you to make 6 million? I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be 5 years, right? The math doesn't seem to add up there. In this hypothetical, I imagine that if you took aerial photographs over...
Listen, I know that I'm like not the best spoken person on the world, right? But it's like Nick Fuentes is fucking goofy. Do I gotta be that goofy? Like Nick Fuentes is fucking goofy. You hear him speak, he has such like a weird tenor to how he talks. How do people watch this guy for long times? I mean, kudos to being a showman, I guess.
For the kitchens, you would need to see certain smokestacks to release the smoke from baking the cookies, and the smokestacks would project certain shadows, but I guess they're not visible in the aerial photographs taken over the kitchens. Moreover, if you look at the soil texture, it's really not deep enough for mass cookie storage underground.
So yeah, good job with the rebranding strategy, Nick.
Milo introduced me to Nick, so I didn't know anything about this guy, other than he was kind of online and popular and right-wing. So I Google him, and I'm just like, oh shit. Nick, you don't think the Holocaust didn't happen, do you? And he sort of backpedaled, you know, fairly furiously. He was like, well, no, of course I think it happened, but you know, and I was like, well, what? I just was like, maybe you can pull that shit on Rumble, but you know, I just don't know how he deals with like...
And if that wasn't enough, Nick also, for whatever fucking reason, consented to a documentary on him by NTV.
Oh my God.
You know, let me just give you some highlights from it.
I don't think he...
Of all places, you're fully alt-right. And then you go to somewhere which is like mainstream? Crazy. Oh, I'm assuming we're getting a Groiper. This is awesome. Ready? The Hedgeman. How old were you when your uncle stopped touching you, and why did you miss it so much? Thanks. I appreciate the comment. Hope you subscribe. I think we're getting the army to come over, guys. This is adorable. Let's keep going.
He understands that the message he's spreading is resonating with white supremacists. He doesn't understand for every action there's a reaction. He could potentially spit that propaganda to a person who goes the ultimate extreme and kills somebody.
Gotta love the fucking music that MTV uses, and it's so like deep and scary. Nick Fuentes is such a scary guy. The things that he says, it's so provocative. He's so scary. As opposed to the guy that we just saw talking and trying to do math problems about cookies and Cookie Monster in the goofiest fucking tone ever.
People's lives are ruined forever over something that he thinks is a big game. He's smart enough to see that he is spreading a racist ideology and that there's people buying it. He can do some damage. He's preaching a very extreme message. I don't think he will understand the gravity of that he's saying until somebody takes action.
I mean, again, the music, and he doesn't understand the gravity of what he's saying. Who the fuck was that? I don't even know who that guy was.
I don't know what was going through Nick's mind when he agreed to this, as if MT motherfucking V was ever going to give him a fair shake. I guess he just thought he was built different. He thought he was Sam High. He thought he could do whatever he wanted and get away with it. And it was probably this I'm built different and can do whatever I want mentality that led to an event in December that would have Nick killing the hype he built for himself and his movement all throughout 2019. When in his delirium, he went on a 10-hour gay date with an Australian catboy cam whore. Look, I've exaggerated a little for comedic effect quite a few times in this video, but I
heard peripherally about the catboy stuff. I don't know if I'm ready to go into the deep dive, but here we fucking are. A 10-hour what? I guess we're finding out, gal. We're finding out together.
Every word that just came out of my mouth is 100% true. It has been documented, widely viewed, and memed on by basically everyone, both on the right.
In terms of the Catboy stuff, one of the scenes I saw was Nick saying, well, you've just got to trust the plan. You look like a clown if you're not trusting the plan. What is this plan? I mean, what possible use does lollipops or Catboy have for you or the wider movement of American nationalism or truth or anything? I mean, what possible role could this person play in advancing those causes?
And
you don't go hang out with a Catboy for an extended period of time, 10 hours, for content or for progressing the cause. Bro likes Catboys. Good for you, Nick Fuentes. Like Catboys all you want. Putting it out there, one of the dumbest moves. I agree. This is fucking stupid.
On the left.
There are probably a lot of people out there that are approaching this topic with some degree of vitriol. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to show you guys a miracle, okay? I'm going to show you an ideology crumbling under the weight of one man's thirsty Coomer instincts. It's really cute, actually. They're like a flirty little gay sex worker here on Instagram. You know, check it out. Look, they've got the cat ears, Catboy bathroom moments. A little overt there. You know, pretty cute. Here they are contemplating life and ending it all. You know,
it's quite ironic because the most famous and quoted question from the Groyper War is, how does anal sex help us win the culture war? I guess that dude should have just asked Nick, because he seems to know the way into some Catboy bussy. And this wasn't a spontaneous event. Nick didn't just run into an Australian nigga with cat ears one day. Nah, he been scoping out Kami for a minute.
I have a good friend on D Live who's been doing this. His name is Lolly Socks. Don't be fooled by the name. He's actually very based in Redfield.
Would you like... This is how they try to couch it, right? I'm not gay. He's just based. I'm not into cat stuff. I'm just going to hang out with somebody else that's based, and you should too. Like, Caveat Ties coming in with the hey, what's up, Caveat? Let's keep going. Caveat, we're finding out about Nick Fuentes being a Catboy fan. Come join us. Let's keep rolling.
Ozzy. He's been on D Live. He's streaming his whole life, 24 hours. And I just jumped in randomly one time. He was like cooking sausage. And I was like, that's not a euphemism, by the way. I was like, hey, what are you making? What are you cooking? And he was like, is that the real Nick Fuentes? I was like, what, you recognize me? And he's like, yeah, like I've watched your stuff before. I was,
oh my, look at the body language. Look at the body language. He's like all giddy and he's happy. He noticed me. Like, if you've ever seen anyone that's like excited by someone who they're attracted to, giving them attention, like this is really fucking weird shit coming from Nick Fuentes, coming from a guy who has like talked about the way homosexuality is bad. This is real fucking weird body language here. Caveat Ty saying, sorry, I'm late. Just back from Iowa. That's fine. And then chucking sausage, probably like choking on sausage is what he was fucking doing. Let's keep rolling.
It's like, oh, like, do you like me? Or, you know.
See, Nick has been fascinated by the Catboy question for years. The JQ might actually be a second priority to him behind the CQ, because there was even once an American First Discord channel dedicated to Catboy discussion.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there was a Catboy channel in the Discord, and I didn't even understand like what it was. I knew it was like this anime thing. I thought it was funny. It was a running joke on the show. And then I would say, oh, no, I was hacked. And it was part of a running gag.
Yeah, right.
I need a Catboy to prepare for me.
A Catboy butler.
At 100%. That's the plan. The America First plan is we're going to, like, you know how TWP has their like place? We're going to build a compound out in the western United States.
A kennel.
That's right. So the compound and the kennel will be next door, and we'll have cat boys everywhere. They'll be serving steaks and ice cream and warm.
You know, there's like the difference between like making fun of them and actually like Nick's fantasizing. Like right here, he's fucking fantasizing. Bizarre to say the fucking least, man.
Cookies and Burger King, and we'll be playing Fortnite, and nobody'll grow old. And
it wasn't just a coinky dink. Nick got lost in that Catboy pussy sauce and live streamed himself going on a 10-hour date with a guy he was obviously attracted to. What was especially funny is how Nick tried to pretend it wasn't a big deal afterwards. Whenever somebody brought it up, he would play it off as a joke, and his groypers went along with it. Till this day, they try to argue in the defense of Nick's sexuality. And
you know what? Here's the thing too. So Caveat Ty saying, what's a Catboy? It's exactly what you just saw, Caveat. It's a guy that wears cat ears and basically is a fucking cat in real life. And that's like, they're like it's a sexual thing. People like to have gay sex with people wearing cat ears. It's fucking weird, dude. Fucking Nick Fuentes is a Catboy.
Say anyone who brings it or his Catboy fetish up is just reaching. Well, as Nick entered 2020, things got even worse for him when Susan Wojcicki, RIP to go, yeeted his Mexican ass across YouTube's border in February because his NASBO shenanigans were breaking TOS. Even this wasn't the worst thing that would happen to Nick in February of 2020. The worst thing that happened to Nick in 2020, worse than losing his YouTube or Trump losing the election, was a Super Bowl party.
Growing up, I was in grade school. It was a small class. There were like 35 boys in the class, and only probably like about a dozen of them were really like normal, I guess you could say. They were all into sports. They all watched sports, played sports. That was their thing. And so every year, the main, I guess like one of the leaders of the group, his family would host the Super Bowl party. Okay, now this Super Bowl party is like one of the defining things of my life.
Gotta highlight this comment. Caveat Ties. He should hook up with Your Movie Sucks. Yes, I feel like they would be great friends. We should definitely send Your Movie Sucks Nick Fuentes way. I think they would actually get along swimmingly.
Life. If I could put together like a handful of totems from my childhood that define my life, like this Super Bowl party is like responsible for probably like 30% of like who I am as a grown-ass adult, like the shit that went on at these parties. We go to the Super Bowl party and the adults would be on the first floor and all the kids would play in the basement. And every year I would go there and they would just treat me like shit, because I didn't play sports and they all were better friends with each other.
He's all fucking, he likes the abuse. He's into sadomasochism. Blah.
Than I was friends with any of them. So I was always sort of the outside guy. And, you know, and I would always get in a fight with at least 3 of them, like literally get in a fist fight with them or something.
There were these Super Bowl parties held by parents of one of Nick's classmates that became a community get-together of sorts. Now, these parties were the most traumatic events of Nick's adolescence.
He would just get, listen, he's like that typical little wiener of a kid that got picked on by all the jocks. And here we go. This is what we see. This is what they all are. This is what leftists are. Nick Fuentes is a leftist. Let's keep going.
His entire personality is downstream from what happened at these parties his parents dragged him to. Nick hates going to these parties. He straight up stopped when he got old enough to.
Needless to say, I never really liked that crew. We never got along. We were never really friends. As I get older, I'd stop going to the party. Well, so then we graduate high school and everything. You know, me and my sister graduate high school. And now it's sort of different. And so I'm out of college and, you know, the neighbors are always doing stuff. My parents are always doing stuff with the neighbors. And every time they get together, they're like, oh, everybody's asking about you. Everybody's asking where you are. You should come. Why don't you ever go to these things? Whatever. So eventually I was like, you know what? All right. This was in 2020. So I was like, all right, I'll go to the Super Bowl party. I'm rich and famous.
In 2020, this is grown-ass man Nick Fuentes. Mind you, let's see where this goes.
I'm making bank. I'm famous. I've made it. I'm coming back to the Super Bowl party, and I'm going to redeem. I'm going to show up this rich, happening guy. You're all still in fucking school. I just made headlines with the Groiper War, and I got money.
But now he wants to go again, purely to show up his old peers because he's got money and a little bit of clout.
And that's what a fucking loser goes to do, okay? That is what an insecure loser goes to do. The one that wants to go to their fucking high school reunion just to go and show off how great they are, how cool I am, how much of a glow up I've had. I'm so much better than all of you. You are an insecure loser if that is your whole motivation.
Just know this was a dream of his for years, like a bullied nerd who can't wait to show up at his school reunion in his new Audi to find out that jock asshole who used to stuff him in lockers is divorced and working the grave shift at Walmart now. Nick was gonna pop out and show niggas.
Yeah, I'm gonna show up and I'll show you, you know, like, look at what I made something of myself, you know? If I show up to this thing, this is like 2 years ago.
So he goes. And then...
And I say, oh, hey, everybody. I say hey to all the parents, and I wind up getting a plate of food, and I go to the basement with all the neighborhood with the kids. They're all there. They're all adults. And we're sitting around. We're talking and everything. And get this. They all get together and leave to go to another party and don't invite me. And I said, you know what? Fuck this. I said, I'm leaving too.
Oh my God. That is just karma. That is just, why the fuck would you tell that story if you're Nick Fuentes? Why would you tell that story? Like, these people love this type of attention, right? Like, there's one thing about being like self-deprecating, right? And like defecating, shitting, self-deprecating. And, you know, making fun of yourself a little. Why would you tell that story?
Shit, that's brutal. That's a fucking fatality, dude. That's worse than if they all started bullying him again like back when they were kids. Yeah, this was definitely worse than Nick losing his YouTube. This was childhood trauma graduating to adulthood trauma. Bro really thought he was somebody now. Dude, nobody cares. Nobody cares that you got a little money in your pocket and you've been on TV and the news a couple times. In the eyes of the Groipers, Nick is a dissident right demigod who's going to save the West. In the eyes of the left, Nick is a Nazi leading a white supremacist group that wants to enforce a theocratic fascist state. In the eyes of the mainstream conservatives, Nick is a far-right albatross around their neck that occasionally tries to poke at their eyes. But in the eyes of people who've known Nick personally since childhood, Nick is that spurgy Mexican kid who they forced to be the umpire when they play baseball because he sucked at sports.
We go to the baseball field down the street. We leave the party and
it's so funny when these losers, these kids that grew up as losers, finally grow up and they feel a little bit of power like Nick Fuentes here. This is what they become. They feel a little bit of power and they can't lose it. They get popular, they make a little money and they can't lose it. So Nick's going to do everything he can, which is why we see him getting more and more and more and more inflammatory. This is what these kids are. They're the kids that are so insecure. These are kids that are just so self-conscious. They're willing to say and do anything. They were always those ones that would probably coattail to the popular kids and just try and be like, yeah, let's do that. Oh, yeah, you're the best. Yeah, yeah. Like, Nick is no leader, man. Like, he's no leader. Caveat Ty saying, I do like the fact that he pepper sprayed that liberal who knocked on his door to interrogate him. I mean, I wasn't mad about that. It's kind of funny. But again, he's like that. But that's a caveat. That's a good point there, because that just goes to show, what did he do? He responded right away with violence, responded right away with pepper spray. Should that person have been at his door? No, you don't go to somebody's fucking house uninvited. But it's like, it's not even like he was like man enough to confront him and be like, yo, get away from here. He fucking automatically pepper sprayed him. Let's keep rolling.
They're team captains picking teams. And I go, whose team am I on? Nobody's. You're the umpire. I always like want to kill myself. It's just like, okay, that just destroyed me.
Honestly, the Super Bowl party of 2020 was the best thing that could have happened to Nick, because it drop-kicked the shit out of his ego, gave him that much-needed reality check, and made him start taking his America First thing somewhat more seriously again. He wanted to pop out and show niggas, but left that party realizing he needed to sit down and be humble. See what I mean when I say people like Nick need to be humbled for their own good? It's no different from smacking an old TV to get rid of the static.
All right. And that is where we are going to call it a show. We're on chapter 5. Caveat I saying it was a woman. Yes, it was. I remember that it was a fucking woman. Hey, but still, women could still be packing. So, I mean, listen, I will give Nick that. When it comes to, yes, he is a piece of shit, but he has a personality, he's someone that people dislike. So when they're coming to my house, if I had a rando come to my house and I knew that they were coming with ill intentions, I probably wouldn't react in the nicest way either. So just throwing that out there. But that's where we're going to stop tonight. We're an hour 45 in, almost 2 hours in. That's just the beginning. That is just the beginning, y'all. There's still 2 more hours of this documentary. So we're at 54 minutes, 16 seconds out of 2 hours and 57. So we will come back to this in 2 more weeks. In 2 more weeks, we will pick on up again where we left off with this about Nick Fuentes. I don't know what to expect. I came into this not knowing much about Nick Fuentes. I'm hopefully going to leave this. I'm still not going to give a shit about him. I am someone that firmly believes that the Goipers, they have no power. They have no actual platform. They are leftists. Okay. That's the reality that we need to understand when it comes to Nick Fuentes, when it comes to the Goipers, when it comes to white nationalists, when it comes to your, your super like, crazy, like your right dissidents and all those, like those people, they are typically, they're leftists. Because they are collectivists in theory. They are not individualists. They are not truly for small government. They are for me fucking controlling you. They are authoritarian in thinking. So, absolutely, they are not on our side. Nick Fuentes is not on our side. He is not an ally. He's not somebody to ally with. Nick Fuentes, as we are seeing, is that fucking loser that is now willing to say and do whatever he thinks he needs to say and do to continue to be the king of his small little castle. So that's it for the show tonight. I appreciate everyone. Side Effect, Matt Santos, Nate, Caveat Ties hanging out, even our little Goiper friend, Hegemon coming in. I was hoping and thinking we might get more of them, but who knows? Maybe we will in the future. Probably going to get some fun comments on this episode, but I appreciate everyone for watching wherever you're watching from, listening if you listen to this later via podcast. This was the Alex Cuesta Show. Like I said earlier in the show, please like, share, follow, subscribe, give us 5 stars, but also please go check out the YouTube, go check out the Rumble. I am trying to post videos up almost daily. I am putting up small reels and clips from those videos and other things on there as well, trying to bring out more and more content for you to ingest, to see more. I'm going to try and force David to make more videos and do things like that. So if you do watch a video, if you enjoy it, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure that you leave a comment. And also, if you truly like it, share it. Put it out there and help the channel grow in that way. That's always appreciated. So I will be back next week for the stream. We have a guest on. I'm excited for our guest. He's a repeat guest. David will obviously be back, but you'll be seeing more of me. So if you check the channel, daily, you should see stuff popping up there unless I get incredibly lazy, which I'm planning not to. I'm planning to continue to go and try to do more. It's like I've said in the video, it's not easy. I'm busy. I'm doing things, but I got things to say, so I'm going to say them, and I'm hoping that people will want to listen to it. Tell me I'm an idiot. Tell me I'm smart. Tell me I'm this. But ultimately, I'm just going to do what I do. And for the people that are here, Caveat, Nate, the ones that have been here from the get-go, if you see me becoming a dumbass and changing and you think I'm saying things just to say it and not being myself, call me out. You guys are the day ones. So you can absolutely call me out and check me, and I'll be happy to, talk to you guys about it. But overall, thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be back in a week for another stream, but look out for more videos. So I will talk to everyone later. So long, y'all. I'm just hitting the mic. So long, y'all.